Alrighty, my name is Adrienne. I'm going to show you how to do a couple different color changing techniques with crochet. So I have a little circle made here with my primary color, and what I'm going to do is teach you how to change to a secondary color, and I'm going to show you a couple different ways to do that. One of the ways is to completely change to a different color, so all the rows from here on out will be a different color, and I'm going to teach you how to change that color so there's not an abrupt change from here to the next step, so there's not a step up there. It looks a little bit more uniform. And then I'm also going to show you how to do a color change that's just going to last for a little while. Say you wanted to do 5 stitches of a different color here but then change back to the primary color. It's a little bit different, and each technique makes it just look a little more seamless for these things. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do one where we're going to change to a completely new primary color. So we stop our final stitch with our primary color like this. So we've just stopped this last stitch. So I'll just go one more just so you can kind of see where I was at. So just another single crochet, and we've completely finished that stitch. So what we want to do is take our new color, and I like to just kind of tie this to the base of my primary color so that it hangs out there. So I know that my tension is going to be appropriate. So what we're going to do is, instead of going through this loop like we would for a normal stitch, we're actually going to go through this back loop only to go ahead and start this. We're going to go through the back loop. So there's the front loop, back loop. We're going to go through the back loop, grab this new color, come on through, yarn over, and then pull through. Just like a single crochet, but we're just using that back loop instead of that front loop. So the front loop is right here, this kind of horizontal loop right here. That's going to come in important later. So what we're going to do for around the edge right now is we're just going to go ahead and do single crochets around the entire edge to get just back where we were. So I can show you how to close this off and move on to our next color change. So. Right. Coming up towards the end of our row here. Okay, so we have one more stitch from our last row, and then that's that first stitch that we did with this row with the color change. So we're going to do the final stitch of our previous row. Now, when we move on to this next stitch, instead of just going through here, because this is what this is going to do, is it's going to make a kind of a step, which we don't really like. So it just doesn't look very fluid. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and grab that front loop from the previous one, so that little horizontal loop that was still hanging out there. We're going to go through that and then go through the 2 loops here. Go grab that color, go all the way back through all 3 of those loops, and then finish up our single crochet, and then you can do whatever you need to do from there. But what that does, it makes this color change just a little bit more even, so it's not fully like stepping up. It makes it a little bit more fluid. You're still going to have a little bit of a diagonal line here, but not nearly as extravagant of a step as you would if you didn't do a color change like this. So now what I'm going to show you is how to do a color change where you're just changing the color for a short amount of time, like if you were doing a cow spot or a dog spot or something like that. So I'm just going to go along here for just a little bit. All right, so Now the green's gonna be my primary color and the tan's gonna be my secondary color. So we're gonna change it to the secondary color. So you go for as long as you want with your single crochets or what have you. Now instead of changing where you want to change the next stitch to the secondary color, don't finish this stitch right beforehand. So if this is the last stitch of green that we want to do and we want to change to tan for the next one, don't finish this stitch. So don't yarn over and pull through. You just leave it so it's half finished with these 2 loops here. Now we're going to go ahead and grab our tan and we're going to go ahead and yarn over and we're going to pull through those 2 loops. Okay, and then we're just going to go ahead and continue as normal. So see, we have a pretty seamless transition there. Now, it's very important to remember and understand that if you're planning out a project where you need to have color changes, this is where the color change is going to be seen. These are the colors that are going to be seen. You're not going to see these loops, okay? So don't get confused that it looks like the colors are diagonal or either which way. These colors, these loops are not going to be visible. They're going to be underneath whatever the next row is. So you're really just going to see these vertical loops, okay? So if we want to go ahead and change back to our primary color, just go through and we don't finish off this color. We just do the same thing again. We grab this, go through, and just continue as we were. Okay, now if you are completely done with your secondary color, so if we were done with the tan at this point, you could just tie it off to any of these ends, just tie it and cut it, and just to get rid of it and everything, but don't just leave a loop just or a string just by itself without tying it, because it can unravel. It's definitely possible. So just tie it to any of these other free loops back here. And it's perfectly fine to leave free loops like this on projects when you're going to be doing stuffing. If you're doing something like a dishcloth or clothing or hat or something, it would be best to hide these. So either cut them and tie them off separately or include them with your stitches as you're going along. I don't really like including them with stitches because I usually do stuffies, so it's not really necessary because I can hide them anyway. But I find that if you do hide them within these stitches, you can still see that secondary color through them, and it kind of looks a little bit more bulky. So I don't really prefer that way, but other people do, and that's absolutely fine. So next, what I'm going to show you is how to more seamlessly change a color when we're doing a bobble stitch. So again, we're going to say that my green is my primary color and the bobble stitch is going to be my secondary color, so it's going to be the tan. So we're going to stop here with whatever stitch we want to do right before the bobble stitch. We're going to grab our secondary color, in this case it's the tan. We're going to yarn over, just like we would with any other bobble stitch or a double crochet. We're going to go into the next stitch, yarn over, bring it through, just go through the 2 loops, just like a bobble stitch would anyway. Now we have one primary and one secondary color there. Now we're going to continue with the bobble stitch. We're going to go yarn over into that same stitch again, go through 2. Now we have 3 loops on our hook. We're going to go yarn over, through, pull through, over, and we're going to pull through 2. So if you wanted to do a 3 stitch bobble stitch, we would stop here. If we want to do 4, we just do that one more time. Yarn over into the stitch, yarn over, and then 2. So we have 5 total stitches on here. So what we want to do next to complete our color change, just for if we want to do a color change for that bobble, say it's a foot or a toe or something like that, we would grab our primary color again, yarn over, and we're going to pull that through all of them, like so. And then we're going to go and do a single crochet stitch into our next hole here, and then make sure that our little bobble stitch is sticking out the right direction. Okay, and then we just keep going. So here we go. It's nice and surrounded by the primary color. And you have a little toe or a nose or whatever your bauble is for that way.